I live in Dallas, Texas. My name's Juliet. I'm 34 years old. I work as a financial analyst for AT&T. My salary is just under $85,000 a year. It's not bad money, but it's not enough to shield you from betrayal. I thought I had the perfect marriage. I met Daniel, my husband, 10 years ago. He worked in real estate. He was the kind of man who walked into a room and people noticed. Tall. Charming. Confident. He always knew what to say. When we got married, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Daniel made over $120,000 a year flipping properties. We bought a house in Highland Park. It was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath brick home with a pool in the backyard. I felt secure. I felt loved. Or at least I thought I was. We'd been together for a decade. We'd been through ups and downs. I believed we were unshakable. That belief was the first mistake I made. The truth hit me in the ugliest way possible. One Thursday afternoon, I came home early from work. Traffic was lighter than usual, and I thought I'd surprise Daniel. I walked in through the garage and heard voices upstairs. At first, I thought he was on the phone. But then I heard laughter. A woman's laughter. And it wasn't mine. I froze. I stood in the kitchen, holding my purse, listening. The laughter turned into moans. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I walked quietly upstairs, each step heavier than the last. The bedroom door was cracked open. I pushed it. And there it was. Daniel. My husband. With Sarah. Sarah was my best friend. We'd known each other since college. She was a nurse at Baylor Hospital. She'd been in my wedding photos. She'd held my hand when my father died. She'd sat at my kitchen table drinking wine, telling me I was lucky to have Daniel. And now here she was. In my bed. With my husband. I stood there, frozen, staring at the scene in front of me. They didn't even notice me at first. Then Sarah turned her head. Her face went pale. Daniel jumped up, grabbing a sheet to cover himself. "Juliet," he stammered. I couldn't speak. I just dropped my purse on the floor and walked out. I got in my car. I drove aimlessly for an hour. I pulled into a Target parking lot and sat there, staring at the steering wheel, trying not to vomit. The betrayal cut deeper than I could explain. It wasn't just that Daniel cheated. It wasn't just that Sarah betrayed me. It was that both of them had done it together. In my house. In my bed. With no shame. That night, Daniel tried to explain. He called my phone 20 times. He texted. He said it was a mistake. That he didn't mean for it to happen. That it just happened. I ignored him. I slept at my sister's house. But the next day, I went back. I had to. I couldn't just abandon my life. Daniel was waiting in the living room. He looked pathetic. Hair messy. Eyes red. He said he was sorry. He said Sarah meant nothing. He said he loved me. He begged me to forgive him. But forgiveness wasn't what I felt. I felt rage. I felt humiliation. And in that rage, something shifted inside me. I wasn't going to cry about this. I wasn't going to play the victim. I was going to make him pay. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I looked him in the eye and said, "Okay." That was all. He looked relieved. He thought I was giving him another chance. But what I was really doing was planning. For the next 2 weeks, I played the role of the forgiving wife. I cooked dinner. I smiled. I let him kiss me on the cheek. All the while, I was building my plan. You see, Daniel had a habit. A very specific habit. He kept a bottle of lube in his nightstand. Always the same brand. Always in the same spot. And that detail gave me an idea. A cruel, wicked idea. One that would leave a mark he would never forget. I went to Home Depot one Saturday morning. I bought a bottle of industrial-strength adhesive. The kind contractors use for flooring. It came in the same style tube as the lube Daniel kept. That night, while he was in the shower, I swapped them out. Lube for glue. I put the bottle back exactly where he left it. I smiled to myself. And I waited. I didn't have to wait long. On a Tuesday evening, I told Daniel I was working late. Instead, I parked my car 2 blocks away and walked back to the house. I hid in the shadows of the neighbor's yard and watched. Sure enough, Sarah's car pulled up. She walked inside like she owned the place. They went upstairs. I slipped in through the back door. I stayed quiet. And then it started. First came the laughter. Then a sharp, panicked scream. Then Daniel shouting. And then chaos. The plan had worked. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, listening to the commotion above. Sarah shrieked. Daniel cursed. And then came the sound of desperation. Calls for help. Furniture crashing. And finally, the wail of sirens in the distance. That's when I knew. The firefighters were coming. They were about to walk into the most humiliating scene Daniel would ever face. And me? I just stood there, calm, collected, knowing this was only the beginning. Because what happened that night wasn't just revenge. It was the opening move in a much bigger game. The sound of sirens cut through the night air. Red lights flickered against the walls of my living room. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, frozen but calm. Daniel's voice roared from the bedroom. Sarah's cries echoed through the house. Then the heavy boots came. Firefighters stormed through the door. Neighbors gathered outside, drawn by the noise and flashing lights. And within minutes, my private revenge became a public spectacle. I didn't follow the firefighters upstairs. I didn't need to. I already knew what they were about to find. Daniel and Sarah, glued together, screaming in pain, begging for help. I stepped outside and stood with the neighbors. I crossed my arms and pretended I had no idea what was happening. An older woman next door whispered, "What on earth is going on up there?" I just shook my head. "Don't know," I said quietly. But inside, I was savoring every second. When the firefighters carried Sarah out on a stretcher, the crowd gasped. She was covered with a sheet, crying hysterically. Daniel followed, red-faced, humiliated, begging everyone not to look. But it was too late. Phones were out. Neighbors were recording. His dignity was gone. The next morning, it was all over the neighborhood Facebook group. Someone had posted a blurry video of Daniel being wheeled out of the house, yelling at the firefighters to stop filming. Comments poured in. People speculated. Some laughed. Some were disgusted. But everyone knew something ugly had happened inside my house. And for Daniel, reputation was everything. In real estate, image was currency. Trust was everything. Once people saw him as a joke, his deals dried up. His phone stopped ringing. Buyers backed out. Contracts fell through. In less than a month, his income dropped to zero. And the man who had once strutted around like a king was now pacing my kitchen like a caged animal. But here's where things got complicated. Daniel wasn't just embarrassed. He was angry. And when men like him get angry, they get stupid. One night, he cornered me in the kitchen. His voice was low, but his eyes burned. "You think this is funny," he hissed. "You think you're going to ruin me and walk away?" I didn't flinch. I met his stare and said nothing. Silence was power. And in that silence, I could see his fear. He didn't know what else I had planned. He didn't know if I'd tell the world the truth. He didn't know if I'd already told my lawyer. That fear gave me the upper hand. But even with my revenge in motion, I was crumbling inside. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus at work. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah's face. Her betrayal stung in ways Daniel's never could. Because I'd trusted her like a sister. And she had gutted me. I hit my lowest point 2 weeks later. I was sitting in my car outside work, staring at the steering wheel, wondering what the hell I was doing with my life. I felt lost. Broken. And that's when my phone buzzed. It was a message from a blocked number. The text read, "We need to talk. Call me." I hesitated. Then I dialed. A man's voice answered. "Juliet? My name's David. I'm an attorney. You don't know me, but you're going to want to hear what I have to say." At first, I thought it was a scam. But then he mentioned Daniel's name. And Sarah's. And suddenly, I was listening very carefully. David explained that he had been contacted by another woman. A woman who claimed Daniel had conned her out of money in a fake property deal. She'd filed a civil complaint, and his name was on it. But that wasn't all. David had also heard whispers that Daniel's real estate business wasn't as clean as it looked. He was hiding money. Shifting assets between shell companies. And if I wanted leverage in my divorce, David was the man who could find it. That phone call changed everything. I met David the next day at his office downtown. He was sharp, mid-40s, with the kind of calm confidence you only see in lawyers who've been around the block. He laid it out for me. "Juliet," he said, "you've got 2 problems. First, your husband's infidelity. Second, his financial games. If we prove both, you'll not only get your freedom, you'll walk away with more than he ever imagined." I leaned in. "What do you need from me?" David smiled. "Patience. And evidence." That night, I went home with new eyes. Every drawer, every folder, every hard drive in that house became a potential gold mine. And slowly, piece by piece, I started finding things. Receipts that didn't add up. Bank statements with missing pages. Emails he thought he'd deleted but hadn't. All of it painted a picture of a man who thought he was untouchable. I handed everything to David. And with each document, each screenshot, each hidden transaction, my revenge stopped being personal. It became legal. It became war. The best part? Daniel had no idea. He still thought I was just the scorned wife. He didn't know I was sitting on a bomb that could destroy him completely. And the fuse was getting shorter by the day. The morning of the hearing, I put on a navy blue blazer I bought from Macy's. It wasn't expensive. But it made me look sharp. Confident. Like a woman who wasn't about to be pushed around anymore. My lawyer, Claire, sat beside me in the courtroom. Across from us sat Marcus and, of course, her. They looked nervous. Marcus kept rubbing his hands together. She tried to avoid my gaze, but I caught her eyes once. I smiled. Calm. Cold. That smile rattled her more than anything. The judge entered. Papers shuffled. And just like that, it began. Claire started strong. She presented the text messages. The ones where Marcus admitted to sneaking her into our home when I was at work. The ones where they laughed about using my money for their hotel trips. The judge's face tightened. He didn't like what he saw. Then Claire dropped the real bombshell. She pulled out the bank records. Page after page of hotel charges. Luxury dinners at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Jewelry from K Jewelers. All paid with the joint account. Money Marcus had promised was being saved for our mortgage. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Johnson, is this accurate?" Marcus stammered. He tried to say the records were incomplete. That maybe it was a misunderstanding. But Claire cut through every excuse. Calm. Direct. Brutally honest. By the time she was done, Marcus looked like a man cornered with no escape. Then it was my turn to speak. I stood up. My voice was steady. "Your Honor, I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here for fairness. I worked every extra shift. I put my dreams aside so Marcus and I could build a life together. Instead, he built a life with someone else, using my sacrifices as his bankroll. That's not just betrayal. That's theft. The courtroom was silent. You could hear the hum of the ceiling fan. The judge nodded. He spoke slowly, carefully. And when he read his ruling, my heart pounded so hard I thought it might break through my chest. Marcus was ordered to pay me a settlement of $120,000. $120,000. That was the exact figure Claire had calculated for all the money siphoned from our account, plus damages. On top of that, the judge granted me full ownership of the condo. Marcus was told to vacate within 30 days. The room erupted. Marcus shouted. The woman he cheated with started crying. She whispered something to him like, "This is your fault." I just sat there. Calm. Silent. A small smile tugged at the corner of my lips. When it was over, I walked out of that courthouse with my head high. My hands didn't shake anymore. My chest didn't feel heavy. I wasn't broken. I was free. Later that night, as I sipped a glass of wine in my quiet condo, I thought back to the fire department call. The screams. The embarrassment they endured as firefighters literally peeled them apart. That was justice on one level. But this was justice that lasted. I didn't just catch Marcus cheating. I exposed him. I took back what he stole. And I walked away stronger. And here's the truth, revenge isn't always about rage. Sometimes it's about patience. About letting the system work. About knowing when to laugh, and when to strike. So yes. My ex-husband and his mistress will never forget the day firefighters had to tear them off each other. But what they'll remember even more is the day the courtroom stripped them of the life they thought they could build on my back. I swapped his lube for glue. But in the end, the law sealed his fate. And if you ask me, that's the sweetest revenge of all. If you felt the satisfaction of justice served, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for more stories like this. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps bring these stories to light. Thanks for watching.